$1.8 billion. That's how much money flowed from 347 wealthy families to Harvard and Columbia between 2015 and 2025. Every single one of those families had a child admitted to these universities within 18 months of their donation. Coincidence? Mayor Zohran Mamdani didn't think so. In 12 minutes and 41 seconds of questioning, he would expose the most systematic admissions bribery scheme in Ivy League history, a scheme that made the 2019 Varsity Blues scandal look like amateur hour. What did those 287 pages reveal that made a Harvard dean invoke her Fifth Amendment rights 11 times on live television? But this story begins long before that hearing room, in September 2019, at a basement office at Columbia University, where the most comprehensive bribery network in higher education history was being meticulously documented by someone on the inside. Dr. Sarah Kim had been working in Columbia's admissions office for 14 years. Cornell Ph.D., education policy expert, one of the professionals who evaluated thousands of applications every year. In her early years, she believed in Columbia's selectivity, that they chose the brightest minds, the most talented students. But in September 2019, something caught her attention. Kim was reviewing that year's admitted student list when she noticed a strange pattern. Brandon Whitmore, SAT score 1,180, average admit 1,520, GPA 3.2, average admit 3.9, athletic achievement none, leadership positions none. But his file had a small note: development case, Whitmore Family Foundation donation, $5.2 million, June 2019. $5.2 million donation. Admission in August. Kim went deeper. She opened that year's development cases file, the special admissions category used for children of wealthy families. And what she saw shocked her. 42 students had been flagged as development cases. Each one was below standard admission criteria, and each one had families that made major donations within 3 to 12 months before admission. Average donation, $4.7 million. Lowest, $2.1 million. Highest, $12.3 million. This wasn't just 1 year. Kim looked at previous years. Since 2015, the same pattern. Every year, 30 to 50 students were admitted as development cases. Behind each one, millions of dollars. Kim felt her hands trembling. This wasn't meritocracy. This was the most expensive bribery system in higher education. But she'd only examined Columbia. What about other Ivy League schools? For the next 6 months, Kim conducted a covert investigation. She reached out to a former colleague who was a Harvard admissions officer, spoke with a few Princeton insiders, and what she found was a systemic structure. Harvard was even worse. The development cases rate was higher, and so were the donation amounts. Average, $5.8 million. Between 2015 and 2025, a total of 203 students had been admitted through this system. Total donations, $1.18 billion. Columbia, 144 students. Total donations, $623 million. 2 universities combined, 347 students, $1.8 billion, and it all looked legal. Because technically, there was no direct connection between donation and admission. Families made donations. Universities independently made admission decisions. But the timing, always perfect. Kim knew this wasn't just wrong, it was destroying educational equity. Every time a development case was admitted, a truly deserving student was rejected. Brilliant, hard-working students who just weren't wealthy. November 16th, 2025, 11:43 p.m. Kim created an anonymous email account and sent a message to Mayor Zohran Mamdani's office. Attached were 287 pages of documents, each one documenting the Ivy League's dirtiest secret. When Mamdani's chief of staff, Elena Rodriguez, received that email, she initially thought it was a joke. Going after Ivy League universities was political suicide. But when she opened the attachments, student files, donation records, internal memos, admissions committee notes, she knew this was real. Mayor, Rodriguez said, rushing into his office at 6:30 a.m. I found something about Harvard and Columbia, and it's going to change education history. Ma'am Danny sat at his desk and started reading. Page after page of documents showing how wealthy families' children were admitted. Low SAT scores, inadequate GPAs, but full bank accounts. One case was particularly striking. Ashley Henderson, admitted to Harvard in 2023, SA 1,150, GPA 3.1. Extracurricular activities, minimal. But her father was a Manhattan hedge fund CEO. And in June 2022, he donated $8.7 million to Harvard. In Ashley's admission file, there were admissions committee notes. Academically weak, leadership potential unclear. However, Henderson family actively engaged with development office. Recommendation, admit under special circumstances category. This wasn't one family. This was a system. For the next 3 weeks, Mamdani's team worked in secret. Every file was verified, every donation tracked. Several meetings were arranged with Dr. Kim through encrypted channels. The whistleblower provided more documents, internal emails from Harvard, charts showing how donation amounts affected admission probability. One email was particularly damaging. From Harvard's Development Office Director to Dean of Admissions, Dr. Rebecca Morrison, March 2021. Rebecca, Henderson family is thinking 8 to 10 million range. Even though Ashley's file is weak, a donation at this level should be sufficient for special consideration. Please inform the committee. Morrison's response, understood. We'll process Ashley's file under the development track. This was bribery, dressed up in euphemisms, hidden in legal jargon, but at its core, bribery. January 10, 2026, City Council Hearing Day. Subject, Access and Equity in Higher Education in New York. A technical title that seemed like a routine session, but everyone in that room sensed this was different. Dr. Rebecca Morrison arrived at City Hall that morning. She'd been Harvard's Dean of Admissions for 19 years, PhD from Yale, polished, professional, the perfect face of the Ivy League. With her came 3 lawyers and Harvard's general counsel. There was also a representative from Columbia, Dr. James Patterson, director of admissions. Both institutions thought this would be routine oversight. A few general questions, talk about educational access, done. But when they entered the room, they saw the density of the press. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN, all there. There'd been no leak from Mamdani's office, but electricity was in the air. The hearing began at 10 a.m. The first hour proceeded predictably. Council members asked questions about higher education costs, student debt, access issues. Morrison and Patterson gave diplomatic answers, emphasizing Harvard and Columbia's commitments to diversity and access. Then, at 11:18 a.m., Mamdani's turn arrived. Dr. Morrison, Mamdani began, his voice carrying dangerous calm, I want to start with a simple question. Morrison smiled politely. 19 years she'd answered these types of questions thousands of times. How does Harvard select students? Mayor, Morrison answered in a soft voice. Harvard uses a holistic admissions process. We evaluate academic achievement, leadership potential, community involvement, character, and donations, Mamdani interrupted. Do family donations affect admission decisions? Morrison hesitated. This question was a trap. Harvard values its donors, but admission decisions are based solely on student merit. Interesting. Mamdani opened his first folder. Because I have Harvard's internal admission records from 2015 to 2025. The room's temperature dropped. Those records were confidential. In these documents, Mamdani continued, I see a category called development cases. Dr. Morrison, what is this category? Morrison's face tightened slightly. That's a term used for students whose families establish long-term relationships with the university. Long-term relationships. Nice phrase. Mamdani turned another page. Let me read you a name. Brandon Whitmore, Admitted to Columbia in 2019. SAT score, 1,180. GPA, 3.2. Should have been rejected, right, Dr. Patterson? Sweat appeared on Patterson's forehead. Admission decisions are complex. But Brandon's family donated $5.2 million to Columbia in June 2019. He was admitted in August. Coincidence? Silence. Let's try another one, Ma'am Danny said. Ashley Henderson, admitted to Harvard in 2023. SAT, 1,150. GPA, 3.1, but her father donated $8.7 million in June 2022. Morrison tried to open her mouth, but no words came out. Actually, Ma'am Danny continued, from 2015 to 2025, Harvard admitted 203 students as development cases. Each of their families donated a total of $1.18 billion, average $5.8 million per student. Columbia, 144 students, $623 million, average $4.3 million, total 347 students, $1.8 billion. The numbers filled the room. Reporters were typing frantically. And here's the best part. Ma'am Danny's voice carried that sweet anger. Every single one of these 347 students was admitted within 18 months of the donation. 100% success rate. Magic, Dr. Morrison? Morrison's lawyer intervened. Mayor, there's no direct connection between donations and admission decisions. No direct connection? Ma'am Danny laughed. Let me read you an email. From Harvard Development Office to you, Dr. Morrison, March 2021. Quote, Henderson family thinking 8 to 10 million. Even though Ashley's file is weak, this donation is sufficient for special consideration. Your response, we'll put Ashley on the development track. The room exploded like a bomb had gone off. That, Dr. Morrison, isn't that a direct connection? $8 million, weak file gets admitted? Morrison sat frozen. In 19 years of her career, she'd never been this cornered. Dr. Morrison, Ma'am Danny's voice was now creating a historic moment. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Is Harvard selling student admissions? Silence. 47 seconds. Then, a woman who'd guarded Harvard's gates for 19 years went silent for the first time. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. 12 minutes and 41 seconds. That's how long it took for a Queens mayor to expose America's most prestigious university's dirtiest secret. Within 2 hours, Harvard issued an official statement. We categorically deny these allegations. Within 6 hours, Dr. Harvard bribery was trending on Twitter. Within 24 hours, the Federal Department of Education launched an investigation. Dr. Sarah Kim, she was hailed as a hero, but she lost her job. Columbia fired her for confidentiality violations. Dr. Rebecca Morrison, after saying Fifth Amendment 11 times, she resigned within 3 weeks. And Ma'am Danny, he was preparing for the next battle. Because Harvard and Columbia were just two names. Princeton, Yale, Stanford, they all had their own development cases. But now they all knew. Zohran Mamdani came to fight for educational equity. And prestigious names weren't going to stop him.